everybody receives between about 3 and 5,000 commercial messages a day. So we are
Wow.
constantly being bombarded with advertising and commercial messages and emails that are trying to sell us products. And especially now with AI, that makes it even easier to get emails and messages out there faster. We're just bombarded with all of this stuff, and it's harder and harder for companies to kind of break through that noise.
Have you heard of StoryBrand? Odds are you have, and if you haven't, might be living under a rock. Folks, this is a big time interview. I have the head of StoryBrand, Dr. J.J. Peterson, that comes on, breaks down their 7-part framework, tells you exactly how to apply it, make it work for you, and it's the epitome of doing more by doing less with your marketing and your branding. Do more by doing less. With me, Charles Alexander, for small business owners, startups, and busy folks. So look, quick story. And I normally don't jump in on this to steal your thunder, but so in addition to do more by doing less, and I help people create a 4-day work week in 90 days or less, I have an explainer video business, little 90-second videos that explain what somebody does. So dude, 10 years ago, I started this thing. One of my very first clients, I'm trying to help get a script written. And she's like, have you heard of StoryBrand? And so, which I immediately lied and like, yeah, of course, StoryBrand. So I'm Googling it while she's on there and like, oh my God, it's in Nashville. I should know about this. And immediately after getting off the phone with her, I stole like everything. I went through all the podcasts, all the videos. It was much different. The concept was the same. Y'all didn't have nearly the amount of content that you do now. So it'd have been right at the same time you were starting.
Yeah.
And I'm taking every question I possibly can and creating my simple 6-question form, but it's a StoryBrand form.
I love it. I love it.
Well, in looking at that, so many people are familiar with StoryBrand, JJ. So tell us, pretend we don't know anything about StoryBrand and explain what the concept is.
Yeah. So the research right now shows that everybody receives between about 3 and 5,000 commercial messages a day. So we are constantly being bombarded with advertising and commercial messages and emails that are trying to sell us products. And especially now with AI, that makes it even easier to get emails and messages out there faster. We're just bombarded with all of this stuff, and it's harder and harder for companies to kind of break through that noise. And so what StoryBrand does is come in and help companies clarify their message, create a clear marketing message by using a story framework. So taking the principles from story and specifically script writing and teaching companies how to clarify their message using that so that they can kind of break through that noise and stand out in the market.
So you guys have a very specific framework. Like I said, I've devoured all the materials. I've been through not on site, but I've been through the 2-day training. I am not StoryBrand certified, but I could pass the test. If I could flip out, dude, I could do it. So tell somebody what the StoryBrand framework is.
Well, really, it is just taking, like I said, the elements of story. So really, every story has 7 basic elements to it. And these elements go all the way back to like Aristotle and Plato, who studied story. And basically, every good story has 7 elements. And to go through them really quickly, it's that every good story has to have a main character who wants something. That has to be really clear what that character wants. Then that main character has to encounter a problem, which it has to be a significant problem that gets in the way of what the character wants. Then that hero meets a guide, somebody who helps them overcome this problem, like a Yoda or a Gandalf, somebody who's wise and can help them win. Then that guide gives them a plan that then calls them to action, which can result in either success or failure. So those are the 7 elements in every story, pretty much you've ever seen, movie or book you've ever read. Character 1 with a problem, who meets a guide, gives them a plan, calls them to action that results in success and failure. So when we go in and work with companies, what we do is we help them create their customer story, positioning really their message at the customer to position the customer as the hero of the story and the business as the guide. So they're actually inviting customers into a story that they get to win. and they're the hero of. And so we create talking points based on those 7 elements to help companies clarify their message.
So tons of good things in there. So the very first thing that we look at is who the main character is. And one of the things I think I've seen that people get so wrong. So going back to me helping people create explainer videos, the very first thing they want to do is they want to be the main character. So I'm
Yes.
working with financial advisors, business coaches, and insurance agents. And you can, even though I have them answer a 6-question form that follows this to a T, there's like, here's all the stuff about us. So here's the script. Yeah, that's great. But where's the part about me? Like, oh, how do you get somebody on board to make them realize that they're Yoda, they're Obi-Wan, they're not Luke?
Yeah. Well, when companies try to position themselves as heroes in the story, in their marketing, they're really positioning themselves as weak. If you think of stories, the hero in a story is always up and down. They're like
Gotcha.
insecure, they're overwhelmed, they're scared, and then they do really well, and then they become cocky and lose it all. It's just like up and down the whole story.
Right.
The guide is actually the strongest character in the story. So what people don't realize is when you position yourself as a hero of a story, you're actually positioning yourself as weak. When you position yourself as a guide who helps other people win, then you're the strongest character in the story. You're not the main character, but you are the one who helps the hero win. And if you think about that in literally every movie, if you go with Karate Kid, the sensei
That's right.
is Mr. Miyagi is the strongest character. Daniel is weak. If you go with Hunger Games, Katniss is really weak and insecure and embarrassed and shy, but Haymitch is the one who's won. Now he's a drunk. Yoda is stronger than Luke.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is when you're creating marketing messaging, you have to remember what I said at the beginning is that people are receiving all these commercial messages a day. And our brain is really designed to tune out the information that does not directly contribute to our survival and thriving. Like, for instance, when I teach this workshop, I can be in a room with, say, 1,000 people. And I can say, all right, everybody, how many people in this room know how many chairs are in this room? And not a single person will be able to raise their hand. But then I can say, how many people know where the exits are? And everybody immediately raises their hand. That's because when we walked into that room, our brain automatically filtered out the information we didn't need and paid attention to, even subconsciously, the information that contributed to our survival and thriving, the exits. That's what all your customers' brains are doing every single day subconsciously. So when they're getting an email message or looking at a website or looking at an advertisement or social media post, in a split second, their brain goes, this contributes to my survival and thriving, or it doesn't. And we either swipe or we stop paying attention if we can't immediately see how it does. It's about us. So when companies position themselves as the hero of the story, if I come to you and you say, so JJ, what do you do? And I say, I'm a marketer, and you think you have good marketing, and it may go, oh, great, that's an interesting story. But if I say instead, you say, JJ, what do you do? And I say, so many companies' websites don't perform the way they want them to. They're beautiful, but they're not getting enough leads or sales off of them. Whoever I'm talking to, I don't care who you are, you want your website to perform more. So immediately, I've now made my story about you instead of about me. If I say I'm a marketer, that's my story. If I say companies' websites don't perform as well as they should, that's your story. Now you're interested in talking to me about marketing. But if I just say I'm a marketer, why would I be interested in that story? That has nothing to do with your survival and thriving. So that's why when you try to position yourself as the hero, when you're a brand and you try to position yourself as the hero of the story, first off, you're positioning yourself as weak. Second, you don't tell your story in a way that shows your customer why you are essential for their survival and thriving, and they're designed to ignore you.
The part where you start like that elevator pitch, dude, I stole that from you and Donald years ago. Where and I think it was you that started it with the problem when you introduce yourself, you say, the problem with so-and-so.
Mhm.
And everybody immediately, so like when I've got this mastermind for teaching people to create a 4-day work week. So when people ask me what I do, borrowed from you guys, say, how people get tired of checking their email at 9 p.m. at night or having to be chained to their laptop on the weekend. Oh yeah. That
Mhm.
works so much better than if I were to blurt out something about time management or
Yep.
work-life balance. Because people, well, I've got work-life balance. I work all the time, so I've got work-life balance. But yeah, yes, that's an excellent point that I borrowed from you guys a long time ago.
And it's for everybody, even everybody listening. I mean, if you get anything out of this podcast, this is
Yeah,
the
no
thing that
kidding.
I
That's
would
it.
tell you to do is the next time somebody asks you what you do for a living, don't tell them what you do. Start with the problem that you solve for your customers. Just immediately say how, or a
Right.
lot of companies or a lot of people just start with that and name the problem that you solve. When you name the problem that you solve first, before you talk about yourself, you
Mhm.
automatically are positioning your customer as the hero of the story, and you're automatically positioning your brand as the solution to a problem, which means that you're positioning yourself as something that can help your customer survive and thrive. So they want to pay attention. Their brain wants to pay attention to that. So always, always, always start with what problem you solve or what problem your customers have, then come back and then explain how you do that. Now, when you talk about yourself, you're positioning yourself as the guide. So their problem, then how you solve it, and then wrap that short story up with the success that your customers experience after they work with you.
When you talk about the problem, that is, and that's another problem I run into with people. So, what problem do you solve? Well, we help people get the right insurance in place. We help people grow their business. We help people fund their retirement. All good things, but what's missing when somebody does the bare bones basic like that?
Then what I usually say if I'm working with a client is I'll say then, but what gets in the way of them getting their retirement? What gets in the way of whatever they do, whatever you
Sure.
just mentioned? And they'll usually say, well, they're afraid the market is all over the place. Okay, let's start there. Or
Okay.
they're afraid they're not going to be able to retire they want to. Okay, there we go. Now we've got the problem. And that really is the hook. The only reason why people ever buy products and services from a company is because you solve a problem. If I don't if I don't have that problem, I'm not buying from you. But if I do have that problem, that's what I'm going to look to solve. So the more that you can talk about your customer's problem, the more people will pay attention to your brand.
In terms of talking about their problem, what do you guys have any tips, tricks, cheat codes in terms of continuing to uncover or peel the layers back? A term I hate but still use. But peel the layers back and get into that emotion a little bit.
Yeah. So in when it comes to specifically, I said that we borrow from screenwriting when
Yeah.
we create the StoryBrand framework. And in any good story, when you're watching a movie, there's actually three different levels of problem that the hero encounters.
Whoa.
So the first level of problem is called the external problem. So this is really what's kind of the driving force of the whole movie, that the hero has to destroy a bomb or get their kidnapped daughter back, or they have to blow up a meteor that's going to destroy the earth in 7 days. So there's this big kind of
Sure.
external, almost physical thing you can name. However, like Luke Skywalker has to blow up the Death Star, right? Or
Sure.
Katniss
Like
has
three
to win
times.
the game. Yeah,
That Death Star, they keep letting them rebuild it, and it blows my mind. But sorry, go ahead.
exactly. Exactly. And Katniss has to win the Hunger Games.
Right.
But the reality is, I would say 99.9% of us have never had to disarm a bomb or destroy a meteor. And
No.
even more than that, have never had to destroy a Death Star or compete in the Hunger Games.
Right.
And so the audience has a hard time relating to the main character if they have never experienced that. So, what that external problem has to manifest in the main character is what we call an internal problem, which is always a feeling that the hero has. So, for instance, Luke Skywalker needs to destroy the Death Star, but he's not sure he has what it takes.
He's got internal doubts.
He's got
He,
internal
he
doubt.
he's got
Now,
those voices.
Yeah, and all of us have felt internal doubt. All
Oh
of
yeah.
us have felt that maybe we don't have what it takes, or we're not lovable, or we're not good enough. And that really is the crux of the story. Like, we think it's about destroying the Death Star, but really it's about Luke figuring out that he has what it takes.
Sure.
That's how we relate as an audience. And then there's what's called a philosophical problem, which is kind of this overall philosophy that the movie is trying to make an argument about, like good should triumph over evil, or true love should win out,
Mhm.
right? So those kind of like big arguments. Those three problems, by the end of the movie, all three are solved, and that's really done when the hero wins the day. When Luke destroys the Death Star, all three of those problems are solved. So when it comes to marketing, we want to do the same kind of thing. We want to identify what is the problem our customers are experiencing. So what can we solve for them? Then that's the external problem. Then internal problem is, how does that make them feel?
Gotcha.
They're overwhelmed, they're insecure, they're nervous. What is it that that external problem causes them to feel? That's the internal. And that's really key, because same thing in the way it connects with people in movies is, if I people go shopping to solve an external problem, but they make buying decisions to solve an internal problem. And what I mean by that is, if my yard is overgrown, that's an
Mhm.
external problem. But if I'm not embarrassed or overwhelmed by that, I'm not actually hiring somebody to fix it.
Gotcha.
Right. So I just kind of look at my yard and go, huh, that's funny. It's overgrown. That's an
Hey,
external.
got a
But the
letter from the
internal,
HOA again.
yeah, and that would be that's an external problem that would drive
Sure.
it, but fear or
Yeah.
insecurity or embarrassment, that's really what makes it happen. And so you need those two pieces. And then the third piece is the philosophical. So, why is the problem your customer is experiencing wrong? You're looking for a sentence that says should or deserve. You shouldn't have to deal with this, or you should be able to enjoy your lawn more than working on it. Some kind of philosophical
Sure.
statement you're making. And when you identify those three levels of problem, external, internal, and philosophical, all you're doing in particular in the StoryBrand framework is you're writing them down and using those as a funnel almost for all of your messaging, to make sure that all your messaging is staying on point. So when we go in, and I mentioned all the 7 different elements of story, we go in and work with companies and just help them create talking points around
Yeah.
those 7 elements. So in the problem area, we create those 3 levels of talking points, and then you want to make sure that those are on your website, and you're talking about it on social media, and you're putting them in emails and lead generators, and everywhere you do any kind of marketing, you stay on topic by making sure that you're saying over and over and over again, we solve this problem. It'll make you feel like this. This is why this is
Sure.
you deserve it.
The internal one, I think, is one we often miss. We see the external problem. Landscaper would be a great example. I see that yard. He obviously knows it needs to be mowed, but if that person doesn't have that internal fear, feeling, FOMO, whatever it is, they won't be motivated to fix it. And so many times, I use that financial advisor as an example. Like, everybody who needs, well, everybody, yeah, but not. Hey, a lot of people aren't worried about it. They should be. Health and wellness, they should go to the gym. They're not worried about it. But you have to find that internal thing that resonates with them, that it's kind of gnawing at them in the back of their mind. And then that philosophical piece, what I've seen you guys say so often, and what I've borrowed, is that what you just said, deserve. You deserve to feel this way. And that's a philosophical thing. It's almost like a moral compass. This is right and this is wrong. I deserve to have peace of mind. And that's another one I see quite a bit. I deserve not to be overwhelmed. I deserve to have peace of mind. And I think we often just stop short at the external problem.
Yep.
So we've identified the external problem. We've identified the internal the best we can. And we got a philosophical thing there. So how do you go about, in a short period of time, when you're telling the story, it's got to be pitch perfect, and most people's attention spans are 3 seconds or less. But how do you tell your clients, this is how we show them the plan. This is how we show them the actions we're going to take in a quick period of time that's going to resonate with a client or a customer.
There's a couple different ways. So the first one is the elevator pitch that we kind of already talked about, right? It's to kind of get that interest and have somebody nod their head and go, yes. And the elevator pitch we described was name your customer problem, talk about how you solve it, and then talk about their success they experience after. That's the shortest version of the story: problem, solution, success. And that can be done in about 3 to 5 seconds. From there, what you're looking for is other ways to use it. So on a website, each section of your website doesn't need to contain every single piece of the story, but as you scroll down the full website, it should have all the pieces. So in the header, you might talk about your customer problem and then their success if they hire you. And that might be it, with a call to action. Then the next section, you might talk about the plan or how you position yourself as a guide with empathy and authority. So each section really covers different pieces of the story. If you're doing this on social media, same thing. You're taking those 7 elements, and on social media, you only have 30 seconds. What you might do is talk about your customer problem and then give them a solution. So you're just like, if you're talking about the weight fitness instructor or somebody's fitness coach, they might hop on there and go, look, are you feeling tired and lethargic and you're sleeping as much as you think you should be sleeping and you think you're eating the right things, but are you just exhausted all the time? That's the problem. And what you're doing is agitating, and then you give a little bit of solution. So you're giving value in this context, and you're saying something like, here's 3 things that you can do today that are going to help you no longer be exhausted. And you do, so that's all you're doing in 30 seconds, agitating the problem and then positioning yourself with some authority, some wisdom, and that positions yourself as a guide. So you talked about their problem, then came in as the guide and gave them some wisdom. And then you might close it out with, hey, comment exhausted below and I'm going to send you something. So now you have a call to action. So all you're doing in that 30 seconds is 3 elements of the full story. Very rarely do I go through the entire story in one piece of marketing collateral. I might do it in one email or over a full website or maybe even in a video. But that's about it. Typically, my emails are a little bit shorter than that. My social media posts are shorter than that. My website sections only go through one piece of it at a time. If I'm doing an elevator pitch, I'm doing the 3 things I talked about. So, but when you have that overall, we call it a brand script. Those 7 elements that you create are a brand script. What that does is it gets all of your marketing and messaging in one place so that whatever you're doing, whether you're doing social media, emails, website, you can refer back to that and go, I need to stay on story. Because the average person needs to hear something between 8 and 12 times for them to actually internalize it. So if they've watched your social media once, they've gone to your website, they've signed up for your lead generator, you've sent them 2 or 3 emails, at that point is when they're really starting to internalize it. Now, some people might watch a social media post and buy from you immediately. That happens. I've done that. But that's not usually how it works. They've got to hear it 6, 7, 8 times to internalize it. And then they go, oh, that's what this person solved. That's the problem this person solves. And they begin to look in their own life and see that they have that problem over and over and over again. And because you're agitating it over and over again, you go, I got to get this fixed. I got to get this fixed. And then eventually they become ready to buy.
And 2 things with that, when you're talking about needs to hear about it 8 to 12 times, a few times that I work with people on marketing, that's such a hard concept to get across because they'll say, well, I tried this random thing once or twice. We posted twice to TikTok. I did a direct mail piece. I went to the networking event and nobody but me. Like, did you do it 8 to 12 times? Well, why would I? No, I would never. Well, I want to invest wisely. Like, well, in the real world, the rest of us have to hear something 8 to 12 times. Well, if they want it, they'll come back to me. No, they won't. They're overwhelmed and busy. JJ's already told us they're getting bombarded with 5,000 marketing messages a day. So for anybody listening, you've got to keep email marketing, keep posting, to social media, keep having events, keep inviting people. And you got to keep the second piece. When I said two things, is the agitation piece of the puzzle. And I've often even heard arguments of people that are making excuses to get out of it. Well, I don't want to be manipulative. Well, I don't want to just keep being negative. Like, no, you're not. They have this problem. They want it fixed. If you don't tell them over and over and over that you know how to fix it, they're not going to get the help they need. And then you didn't do your job.
Yes, 100%. I mean, like for instance, if I ask almost probably anybody in the country, what does Geico do for you? Right. So like they over and over and over and over say the same message. So if if I ask you, what does Geico do for you? What does Geico do besides like what's their like think in terms of their slogan? What's Geico's slogan?
Save 15% in 15 minutes or less.
Yeah. And the reason we know that is because we've heard it 5 million times.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not even a McDonald's fan, but I know just loving it.
Yeah. And so, with Geico in particular, they're really pulling from basically their plan in the StoryBrand framework. They're just saying over and over their plan for you. Their plan is save 15% in 15 minutes or less. If they keep saying that over and over and over again, anytime that insurance bill comes to my mailbox or my email, or my insurance company raises my rates a little bit, who do you think I'm going to check with first?
Yeah.
The people who've said it over and over and over again. I do now have Geico. I do have Geico, but I don't even know if they're the best, to be honest. But that's who I have, because at one point my insurance company raised my rates without really any explanation.
Sure.
And I was like, well, screw this. I'm going to check if they're going to save me money. And they did. Yeah. And because they told me over and over and over again. And big brands like that, like you said, McDonald's, I'm loving it. Nike, just do it. There's all of these big brands. The reason we know those slogans over and over and over again is because they say them every single stinking time.
Yeah.
And we think we're boring people. But the reality is the public needs to hear those things over and over and over again. That's the thing. I can get up on a real soapbox about this, because whenever I'm working with companies, a lot of times they will say, well, we just said that. And I will go, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. You have to, and they want to be they want to change it just a little bit and be a little more clever the next time and add a few more words. I'm like, stop, be clear. Be clear with your message. Do it over and over and over again. It is that's what branding is, right? If like think about how when you brand cows at a ranch, you don't go to those cows and put an XO on one cow and then an XY on the next one and then an XX on the next one. No, you do the same brand over and over and over so people know who they belong to.
Yeah, dude, a weird example that I'm going to give you. Who Mr. Beast is.
Yeah.
Okay. I really didn't. So number one YouTuber on planet Earth worth X jillion dollars. My son, he's 11. He pays attention to Mr. Beast. Mm-hmm. Mr. Beast has all these different product lines now. Like one of them is chocolate. I don't know why this dude's coming out with chocolate, but he's coming out with chocolate. And my son, Lane, he got the bars from Walmart. I'm trying them. Yeah, they're good. They're all right. He said, buddy, are these pretty good? He looks up at me and says, plain as day, they're better than Hershey's. But okay. That's a strange thing for a little boy to say. Is that like, is the best chocolate ever? He says, no, it's not the best chocolate ever. It's better than Hershey's. I said, okay. So finally I go back and do a little research and start watching some of this dude's stuff. Every freaking time he does not say it's the best chocolate in the world. He takes a bite and says, better than Hershey's. Now my son is brainwashed. I say brainwashed, maybe it is, but that messaging stuck with him, dude.
Yeah. Marketing is about memorization. If you can get your customers to memorize your value proposition and the problem you solve, boom, you have it. That's what marketing is about. So that's the power of a brand script, understanding that your customer is the hero, being able to tell the same story over and over and over again, using the same talking points in different places so that your customers memorize what you do, how you make their life better, and how they get it. That's actually what marketing is.
So to put you on the spot, we just gave all of those examples. Can you think of a recent one or a popular example where you guys worked with a business and their branding was, and then you were able to develop something that made sense and they're still using it today?
Yes, I have to be careful because I've signed a lot of NDAs, but I will say I recently worked with a mattress brand. That everybody knows. It's the number one mattress brand in the world. Now, what I specifically was working with them on was helping them sell to individual stores. So they have a great brand message that's direct to consumers, but they were making themselves the heroes when they were going and talking to store owners. And
Mm,
so they were basically going with the number one mattress in the world and da da da. And
yeah.
reality was, I was saying, yes, that brand works to consumers, but when you're actually working to stores, for stores,
Yeah.
they have a different problem. They don't care that you have a pillow top mattress. They don't care that you have mattresses that can be different uh, densities and hardnesses. They don't care
The
about that.
number of coils, how
No,
long, yeah, what the
no.
firmness is on each side, yeah,
Mattress owners care that the problem you're solving, I mean, mattress store owners, for them,
that's
they
right.
care that you're going to give them marketing materials and a great brand that's going to make people come in their store, whether they buy your mattress or not.
Sure.
They want to make sure that you can be stocked with everything so that they can get their mattresses to their customers easily. And they want to have good marketing and training for their salespeople. So when you go in to talk to a store, you're not actually going in and pitching the mattress. You're pitching the service that you offer to the stores. And so then they really reshaped everything that they did in their marketing to stores to be less
Mhm.
mattress focused and more process focused of how they help the stores win. And they've even seen an improvement, especially like when they're now competing against a bunch of people who are
Oh my gosh, yeah,
selling
online.
direct online. Now the stores are suffering, especially after COVID. And now this brand has come alongside and basically made the store owners the hero, not the mattress. And it's working really, really well for them.
Man, it's so funny you mentioned that. Growing up, my parents owned a variety of retail stores, mostly furniture and a couple of mattress stores. And I remember that there would always be the mattress sales guys that would come by and they would bring the little miniature mattress and they would talk about the number of coils and it does this and does that. And I remember the one, I don't remember his name, I wish I did. The one guy they liked the most was a Sealy guy. And he would come in. And it's funny you mentioned that. I never thought about this as a kid. He wouldn't bring all the examples. He would tell them basically this is how he would give them sales tips. Like this
Yep.
is how you sell it. This is how you position it. This he would come in and basically provide training and not just try to sell them more mattresses. And then they built their know like trust and he helped them out. And that they sold Sealy almost exclusively because of that one dude that handled it basically like you did. So he was story branding before it was cool.
Yep. And that's why they are the number one in the world. So
Hmm. Look
I'm
at
not going
that.
to say the name, but
Now
that's why.
they should have had that internal sales guy. So
Yep.
look, I've taken up a lot of your time. Dude, this is awesome stuff. Like I said, I've been through it front and back. Quickly switch gears here in the theme of do more by doing less. We'll get a little personal with you, JJ. What is something right now that you feel like you should probably be doing less of?
The thing I should probably be doing less of is managing my own calendar.
Ooh, I was
I
gonna
have,
say I got in touch with JJ. JJ, let me back up. I emailed JJ on his Yahoo email. I don't even know how I got it, dude, but I
I don't
did.
either.
I, it may be. Well, let me. I think I know. I'll tell you later after we're off
Okay.
air, so you can remove that. But JJ got back with me and finally handed me off to Esty.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so sorry. Yeah, JJ should be handling his calendar less. He should be
Yeah, because
handing it off.
she's taking over my podcast calendar, which is very helpful. But now I need people to take over a little bit of the other stuff too.
Yeah. So what will that allow you to do more of once you hand that off to her?
The first thing is it will allow me to be more accurate in everything I do, because sometimes I don't show up to stuff because I
I
get
hear
double
you.
booked because of a lot of. So that's the big thing. But the other thing is that just takes up so much brain space for me of like trying to
Yeah.
figure out when I have stuff open, what's coming out, what asks are out there or not right now. And if there was somebody else that could kind of manage that while I'm creating content and training people, it would be really helpful.
Very cool. One more quick layup. What is a and I love all the story brand books, Business Made Simple, but what is a non-story brand book you would recommend to anybody about anything marketing related?
A little less direct marketing, but the book that, and this is what the reason is because this is the one that's on my brain right now, is Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara.
Really?
And I would argue honestly that if businesses read StoryBrand and got a clear message,
Hmm.
and then read Unreasonable Hospitality and made their experience with customers memorable, those two things are the competitive advantage in the marketplace.
Whoa. That's going to be, yeah. Chat GPT can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that with Unreasonable Hospitality, the thing that Will says is it's just a fact that basically at some point somebody will come along and do your product or service faster, better, and probably
Yep.
cheaper. But you can actually what people remember is how you made them feel. And that can be your competitive advantage. And I think then with a clear message where you're positioning yourself as the
Mhm.
guide, your customer the hero, and then you're making the experience for them incredible. To me, that's you obviously you have to have a great product first. Like excellence is kind of just entry level kind of stuff. But
Right.
once everybody's excellent, how do you differentiate? Clear message to cut through the noise and treat people in a way that they remember.
That is fantastic parting wisdom by Dr. J.J. Peterson. Hey, sir, how can somebody, what should be the next steps for somebody in terms of connecting with StoryBrand after this?
Yeah. So if they go to mystorybrand.com, they're going to be able to get what we have our online version of the brand script. So they can start actually playing around with
Ooh,
creating
that's
the
nice.
talking points and going, all right, what does my customer want? What's my internal, external, and philosophical problems? And creating that online. So if you go to mystorybrand.com, you
Mhm.
can get a free version of that and begin the process of figuring out how to clarify your message.
Great call to action, folks. Now where to go to get started. Dr. JJ, I appreciate it, sir, and you have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
Don't take off just yet. I've created a new program just for you, helping overworked entrepreneurs create their very own 4-day work week in 90 days or less. Look, if you'd rather spend more time with family, friends, traveling, exercising, having the time to do what you want instead of, I don't know, putting out never ending fires, tackling another to do list, and checking email at 9 p.m., then go to my website, yourcharlesalexander.com. If you've created the income you want but don't have the time freedom you deserve, then this is for you. And as always, if you don't, an angel may actually lose its wings. True story. Have a great day.